Hey guys, welcome to another Self-Publishing School Mastermind Group expert interview. We're going to get started here in just a minute. You guys know the drill. If you have questions, please post them in the thread that says post your questions here. If you guys are watching this on the replay, just know that we will monitor those questions too. You can always post a question and I'll make sure to get a response to you. You can also send me a private message if you have questions on that. As for housekeeping, I always like to go over this stuff first. We are going to always have a replay of this, so it's at the same link. If you guys have any questions, feel free to ask in there. If you want to watch the replay, it'll be the same link. You just click on that. We'll also have this available in the mastermind group or in the membership portal where it says expert interviews. So you guys can always find that there. I'm going to do a quick introduction and say hi, and then we'll get into a better introduction for you in a minute, Taylor. But Taylor is joining me with me today in the group. This has been one of our most anticipated Hangouts when people have really been clamoring over this one. And today we're going to be talking about how to get a TEDx talk. So welcome to the group, Taylor.
Thanks, Sean. Appreciate it. Good to be here.
If you guys wouldn't mind, just go ahead and let me know if you can see us and you can hear us. If you can just post in the thread that's there. And so Taylor, we're having this. This is in our event section. We have a thread that says post your questions here. People are going to be asking questions. Some people have posted questions ahead of time. So we have 6 or 7 questions posted ahead of time, and then people will post as we're going. So I'm going to tag you in this here just so you can see it as well.
Perfect. Thanks. And I changed, Sean. I changed the call link. I just sent you an email, just so you know.
Perfect. So we'll get that all to you guys in just a little bit. I just tagged you in the thread just so you can see that as well. So again, if you guys can go ahead, just let me know that you can see us and that you can hear us, and I'll get this going here and just make sure. We're going to have a good interview, me and you, whether there are people here or not, but it's always nice when there's other people hanging out too.
Oh, they'll come. They'll come.
All right, cool. There's always a little delay. Marjorie's here. Michael's here. All right. We got a ton of people here. So I'm excited for this. Like I said, this is one of our most anticipated expert interviews because we're going to be talking about getting on a TEDx stage. And we have a ton of authors here who this is something that's super important to them because they want to get their message out, right? So this is definitely something that we've been interested in the group and going from there as well. So once again, this is Taylor Conroy. Taylor is just... he's the man when it comes to getting people booked on stages, right? If we're looking at TEDx stages, he's the man. He's definitely been working with us here at Self-Publishing School. And we're looking forward to getting you guys involved in learning more about this and learning more about what TEDx is and doing all those different things. So Taylor, I'm going to let you introduce yourself to the group and tell them a little bit about you.
Yeah, happy to. Hey, everyone from Self-Publishing School. Wonderful to meet you. I had a bunch of calls with Self-Publishing School people last week, and they were phenomenal. It was like call after call after call was legitimate, beautiful, wonderful, impactful TEDx talk ideas. But yeah, to introduce myself, my name's Taylor. I did my first TEDx talk about 7 years ago when I was in real estate, and I had this idea to raise money to build schools for nonprofits, and I did a TEDx talk on this idea. And that TEDx talk didn't go viral by any means, but it got about 50,000 views. Yet that TEDx talk spread so well that it led to making about $150,000 in speaking fees. It led to speaking at the United Nations and Harvard and Princeton and Cornell and NYU and Disney, Lululemon, Morgan Stanley, KPMG, Fortune 500 companies all over the world. And most notably, and most importantly, it led to raising enough money to build 500 schools and libraries and water projects all over the world. So as you can imagine, that from that one TEDx talk leading to all of that, I started to get really obsessed with TEDx talks. I ended up doing 4 in total, one at Princeton, 3 of them in Canada, and they're all different sizes of events. And what I found is that regardless if there's 80 people in the room or 200 people in the room or there's 1,200 people in the room, TEDx is TEDx, and the credibility that comes along with it is absolutely profound. And so I started helping my friends get TEDx talks. Sean, I think I told you about a friend of mine named Kevin. 5 years ago is when I started doing this. I helped him get a TEDx talk, and it now has 3.5 million views. It's impacted millions of people's lives. He's received he's received letters and letters and letters from people saying that it actually saved their life. It was a talk on depression, and it led to him getting a six-figure book deal, a robust speaking career where he's earned over $1 million in speaking fees. And the only talk that he has online, is his TEDx talk. So after that happened, I was like, okay, there's something to this. And so now I've helped a few hundred people learn how to get TEDx talks and place people at TEDx talks all over the world. And I absolutely love it. And I would love to help you and your crew get on TEDx stages and make a big change in the world.
Awesome stuff, man. My mic was stuck there. So, all right, getting back to you. Yeah, I've actually heard back from multiple people who have already been able to talk with Taylor a little bit more in depth. This is my chance to actually talk with Taylor a little bit, but also to get those questions from you guys to find out a little bit more, not only about how to get those talks, but we have some very, people who are just starting in their career and starting to get their name out there. And they understand that. That's why a lot of you guys are here at Self-Publishing School, is you understand the power that comes with getting your name out there and establishing yourself as an authority. And one avenue is absolutely through your book, but the other avenue is through something like this. So let's start with the most basic question, and that is what is a TEDx talk?
Sure. So TED, TED.com, and anyone who doesn't know what TED is, congratulations, because you just found a really, really interesting thing that's going to take up a lot of your time, but it's going to educate you, empower you, and intrigue you. So TED is a conference that started back in, I believe it was the early 90s, if I get that right. It was a private conference. The world's thought leaders would get together and they would share their biggest and best idea. The tagline is ideas worth spreading. And once Chris Anderson bought TED, this massive conference, he started making it available to the world. And he started publishing the talks online. People liked him so much they wanted to organize their own TED events. And so they invented TEDx, which is an independently organized TED event. And to be super clear, I don't work for TED or TEDx, not endorsed by them or affiliated with them in any way. I just happen to love them and happen to love getting people TEDx talks. Okay, so there's hundreds and hundreds of TEDx events all over the world. So there's a TEDx event probably happening right now somewhere. And these TEDx events will have maybe 10 speakers roughly, depending on how big the event is. And they can range from, like I said before, they could be like 50 people in the audience watching these TEDx talks. There could be 5,000 people in the audience watching this TEDx talk. And so in essence, it's an independently organized TED event where thought leaders and community leaders and authors, and CEOs and whoever it is come together and they share their biggest and brightest idea. And the cool thing about TEDx, one of the cool things is that their YouTube following or their YouTube subscribers, there's 12 million of them. So for example, my last TEDx talk that came out, which was middle of last year, came out and just got 20,000 views right away. I hadn't even posted it on Facebook yet. And the credibility that comes with having that brand along with your talk, the TED or TEDx brand, is profound. Which led to my talk getting about 100,000 views within the first week. And I've seen people's careers take off in a really, really significant way from having one talk. It's like, in my mind, Sean, this is the 5 to 10 year trajectory for speaking, where you go out and you speak as much as you possibly can for free. You're at community centers, you're at free events, you're paying to get on some stages. Then you have this breakthrough and someone pays you like $250 or $1,000 or $1,500. And then 3 months later, someone pays you $2,500 or eventually $5,000. That's a slow, arduous, painful process to get your message out there and become a legitimate paid speaker. Or there's the way of just get on the most credible stage in the world, which in my mind is a TED or TEDx stage, get that credibility behind you, get that out online, spread that like wildfire. Like for myself, my first TEDx talk was my first ever public speaking experience. Like I'd never spoken on a stage ever, but I knew the power of this TEDx talk. So I practiced my butt off. I practiced probably 1,000 times. I got a coach. I really did it up and got on the stage, so nervous, red blotchy skin, sweaty pits, sounds like my mouth was made of cotton in that speech. Yet that one talk, my first talk ever, then my next talk was Harvard University, because someone watched that talk, reached out to me, was like, hey, we loved your TEDx talk, come speak at Harvard. I didn't get off the stage at Harvard and someone said, you need to come and speak at the United Nations. And then I spoke at the United Nations 4 times. I've spoken in front of stadiums full of 10,000 people, and everything, all of that, plus raising all the money for charity, et cetera, came from that one TEDx talk. So you got the 5 to 10 year trajectory, or you got the 6 month trajectory. I prefer the 6-month. The impact that you can make with this 6-month trajectory, in my mind, usurps the 5 to 10 year trajectory. And I'm guessing that, you know, people that are attracted to self-publishing school, they're like, you know, write my book in 90 days. You guys want like the efficient path. And so in my mind, this is the most to not only getting your message out there alongside a book, but getting out there quick and efficient and powerful way.
Yeah, that's awesome, because we have people who are ready to say, okay, this is my first career, or this is my first time speaking, and I want to get the most bang for my buck. But we also have people who I know are here tonight, people like Clayton and other people who have been speaking and who are very practiced at it and very good at it, and who are like, okay, now I'm ready to start looking at these other opportunities. So it's something that works for both sides, right?
Totally. And what's interesting, like Clayton, I don't know Clayton personally, but you know, he said, like you said, he's a seasoned speaker. Here's the thing is that you can be a seasoned speaker and you go do, let's say 10 events and you speak in front of, let's say 500 people per event. Amazing. You're going to get in front of 5,000 people, right? And that's usually where it stops. Because if the event is filming you, then great, that's a total anomaly. Like I've spoken hundreds of times. It's very rare for an event to be filming you, even more rare for them to be filming you in a very powerful, captivating way that is going to spread online. And this is something that usually gets overlooked. They say, well, I could do a TEDx talk, or I could do like Chicago Ideas Week, or I could do somewhere else, some other venue. But here's the thing, that the reason for TED and TEDx talks is for, the reason for it is so that it spreads online. It's an idea. It's not an idea that's going to crush it in that one room. It's where does that talk go once it gets online? That's why TEDx has 12 million subscribers, because they know the content that TEDx is putting out, they're going to have like 3 camera angles, perfect lighting, great backdrop, beautiful stage, super high quality, rather than, yes, you can go and do 100 events and then every single one stops at the end of that event. Unless it's like an anomaly. Like I spoke at A-Fest, great quality video, great stage and all of it. Yet even A-Fest with this massive community did nothing compared to one TEDx talk coming out. So that's what really matters, is like, that's where you start getting the inbound leads, rather than going out there and trying to get speaking engagements, trying to get on podcasts. You get that powerful TEDx talk right, you spread it right, which we can talk about tonight. Like Kevin getting 3.5 million views, there's no fluke. There's no like, wow, it went viral. Things don't go viral, as you know, right? And anyone in self-publishing school knows they've got to get out there and they've got to market their book. They've got to do it. There's a step-by-step way to getting your talk to 100,000, 1 million, 3 million views. And if you do that right, that's when you get the inbound for speaking. That's when you get Harvard and Princeton and Cornell going, hey, can you please come and speak at our event? Or in a perfect world, you know, you get Fortune 500 companies emailing you and saying, can you come speak at our event? You know, our budget is $10,000. Is there any way that you can come and do that? You know, that's where we want to get to.
Yeah, and I think that it's such a good point to talk about the way that they have the filming, the camera angle, the backdrop, all those things is so huge, because that's something that when you go to a lot of speaking events, I mean, we were just at Traffic and Conversion, which is a huge event, and they do have different camera angles in there, but you don't get access to that forever. And then when you do, it's hard to use, right? You can't use that to get leads to you. That might be used by them to get leads to them. So it's such a different thing. And that's, even to get there is a huge stage, but it's not the same opportunity. You're not going to have the same marketing, the same screenshots that you can use for your own marketing for other things on your website that you'll get with that right look, the right lighting, the right camera angles.
Yeah, you want to have aligned interest with the event that you're speaking at, right? Like Traffic and Conversion, perfect example. Their interest in that footage is to use it to get more people coming to their conference next year, right? That's where they make their income. And at a typical event where you're speaking in front of 500 to 1,000 people, the interest of that event is to rock it in that room, is to crush it in that room for those 500 or 1,000 people, to really do it up right. They don't have a vested interest in getting your talk in front of 1 million people once it gets online, right? Yet, that's the whole reason for TED and TEDx, is to spread these ideas. Your interest, which is do an amazing talk and get it to spread online, is exactly their interest. They want you to do a great talk and spread it online. So they're perfectly aligned. And that's where you want to go as a speaker, is having something that will live on. I mean, it's been 7 years since I did that TEDx talk, and I still get speaking engagements from it, because it's going to sit there forever.
And I think one of the things I've noticed with both TED and TEDx is it doesn't have to be this huge, like, diverse amount of content or information. It's one idea that is important, and you can have your talk be about one idea, and so you don't have to have something that's prepared that's going to give like volumes and volumes of content. It's about sharing that one idea and one message, which I think is something that everybody here can be very good at after they've gone through and kind of filtered and really focused on their message.
Yeah, and Sean, do you want me to riff through, like, the first question being what is a TEDx talk or TED or TEDx talk? Do you want me to riff through a couple more interesting things that people don't usually know about TED? And like, I mean, I've interviewed and talked to dozens of TEDx organizers, and had my team apply to hundreds and hundreds of different events for people, and to get on the stage. Do you want me to just riff with that, or should we
Yeah, that
dive
would
into
be.
specific questions?
Let's go off of that first, and then I'll bring in some questions in just a minute.
Okay, so just for some background, like Sean was saying, a TED Talk, he was saying it has to be one idea. And that's because it's not a 30-minute speech or a 40-minute speech or even a 20-minute speech. The maximum amount of time that you can do at any TED or TEDx event is 18 minutes. That's the tops. And the whole reason for that was to get people to distill their talk down to one solid idea that could have an actionable, takeaway, right? So one solid idea. And the best advice I ever had from someone when I was preparing my first TEDx talk, she worked at TED. She said, Taylor, I gave her my speech, and she said, you got 5 ideas in there. You can talk about one. You can talk about it from 5 different angles. You can talk about the story of you running with the bulls, and you can talk about the story of this or the anecdote and this data, but it all has to support one common idea, which is what I've liked the most about the SPS people on calls that I was chatting with last week, is they already know their idea, right? They know the title of their book. They've been working on it. They've been thinking about it. They've been, mulling it over for years. So they know exactly what that idea is. And that's the thing that they've already distilled it. So 18 minutes is the longest TED or TEDx talk that you can do. And the 3 things that we've heard over and over and over again, we surveyed these dozens of TEDx organizers, the 3 things that they're looking for most in a speaker, in choosing that speaker, because keep in mind, if a TEDx event, let's say, is happening in San Diego, San Diego specifically, they're going to get hundreds and hundreds, if not over 1,000 applicants to speak at that event, right? Because people want to get on that stage, they want to share the message. They might be sharing a message of impact or coaching or whatever it might be, breakthroughs, and people want to get on the stage. There's a lot of different applicants. So we asked all these TEDx organizers, what's going to get our clients picked more than anyone else? What do you guys really look for? Number 1, which goes in alignment with the TED branding, is the idea. The idea, but not just, hey, I have an idea about how to get over, I've gone through a lot of adversity and I know how to get over it. Like a very specific, unique idea. And for example, my business partner, Jake, his idea is replacing anxiety with purpose. Replacing anxiety with purpose. And so he talks about anxiety, talks about the current state of mental health in our world. He talks about this trip that he took to Guatemala because he was feeling so anxious, and he went and replaced it with purpose, etc. My TEDx talk was called How to Build a School in 3 Hours. And it was very specific on how to raise $10,000 to build a school in 3 hours. Really simple, right? And I just used different anecdotes and stories. It was a full 18-minute talk, but it's one specific idea. So that's number 1 with the TEDx organizer. And number 2 with TEDx organizers is passion. So, and what I mean by passion is that not that you're just excited about the topic. You have to be excited about it because, enthusiasm transfers. You have to be passionate about it. You have to be also showing that it is your passion. You've been doing it for years. This is something you know inside and out. This isn't something that you thought of like last week and you just want to jump on stage and riff about it. This is like your life's work, right? You have to be passionate about it and show that you've been working on it. And then number 3, which is really interesting, kind of threw me for a loop, is humility. It's when someone's putting on a TEDx event, you have to keep in mind they're a volunteer. So TEDx is a nonprofit. There's no money made. The speakers don't get paid. It's all nonprofit. A lot of people donating their time, their energy, and the TEDx organizers specifically, they're not getting paid to be there. And what they want to do is they want to be able to get speakers that are humble and are open to coaching and are open to ideas and open to shifting and altering their talk to make it kind of fit the theme of the conference, which goes into the next thing I want to talk about. But so those top 3 things, number 1 is the idea, very specific, concise, captivating, compelling idea. Number 2 is passion. Been passionate about it for a while. It's your life's work. And number 3 is humility. So those are the top 3. And the last thing I'll say is that typically every TEDx event has a theme. We just landed a client at a TEDx event in California, and the theme is absurdity. Okay, so I don't exactly know where they came up with that theme, but the theme is absurdity. And so he knew that going in when he was getting the audition, so he embedded it in his audition talk. And he was the first person chosen. Of 10 speakers to get chosen, our client was the first because he knew what the theme was. You know, we coached him on how to nail that audition, and he got it the first time. And actually, he did great. He actually ended up landing 2 TEDx events, which we can talk about later. But so those are the 3 top things. And always make sure to keep in mind that there's a theme in your talk. You want to alter your talk, or you want to show how your talk fits with that theme, whether it be transformation or rebirth or environmentalism or activism or absurdity, for example. Does that help, Sean?
It's a ton of great information. I'm just trying to get it all down. I'm taking notes as you're talking, and I'm going to have to watch and replay that, because I think it's important for people to understand what the TEDx talk is, and knowing that there's a theme. I actually did not know. I've watched a ton of TEDx talks, but the thing is, when you watch them, you don't always see the theme because you're watching them in different orders, not always in the same event. So it's something you don't always realize. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It's something that, you know, if we're applying for helping our clients to get a TEDx talk, one of the most important things is to know the theme, because they're that TEDx event organizer. They're creating it. They have a vision. They have a vision for what they want to create with that event, and their passion is getting beautiful, impactful messages out into the world, and they want to bring that together. They want some cohesiveness so that the people that are in the room, it's not just like a talk on, you know, pinball machines and a talk on granola and a talk on, you know, water. Something to do with water, you know, these things like all over the place. As you can tell, I obviously just looked in my environment and picked out 3 random topics, but they want to make sure there's some cohesiveness, so it brings the event together and provides a really cool experience for the people that are in the room.
Wonderful. So I'm going to take a couple questions from the group here, and you guys keep posting your questions. I know we see quite a few here, so try and get to all of them. If you post your questions now, it would definitely be easier for us to get to if they're higher up in line here. So the first one, and this is from Lori, who was kind of taken back to, she said, I'm wondering, where is step 1? I love to speak public in front of crowds. I'm trying to look things up in Google, and it's a little confusing. What is step 1 for getting towards these events?
Sure. So like we said before, there's 2 different paths for speaking. You got the one path, which is potential, or you got the one that's probably going to take us to get to. And you want to think, that was Laura, did you say, Sean?
Yes.
That said that? So Laura, you
Lori,
want to think
sorry,
about,
Lori.
So Laura, you want to think about, what's your end goal with speaking? Is it simply to just get your message out as much as possible? Is it to become a paid speaker? I'm going to talk about what the typical outcome that people want, which is both. They want to get their message out in a big way, and they want to get paid to do it. So they don't have to be working their 9 to 5 and doing speaking gigs on the weekend. So my experience and my clients' experience, the fastest way to become a regularly paid speaker is to do a TEDx talk, period. And that was my experience. I did one TEDx talk, and it led to a robust speaking career. No speaking experience before that. Kevin, who I talked about before, did one talk, massive, robust speaking career. Leslie, who I was talking to earlier today, I just watched her TEDx talk. She's already got 45,000 views. She was approached for a book deal. She's invited to speak at MIT, doing this big digital summit, and her documentary is getting out in a big way because she's doing her TEDx talk. Sloan, another one of my clients, the first gig that she got booked for after her TEDx talk was Harvard. The next one was the United Nations, which is random because those are the 2 that I got booked at, and totally unrelated. I just heard from her yesterday that she just got booked to speak at the United Nations. And that's because the credibility that comes with having a TEDx talk is gargantuanly or exponentially more than almost any other stage that you could name. And the quality of the footage is almost better than any other stage that you could name. And the spreadability, the people that are going to watch a TEDx talk, they have an expectation. They know it's going to be concise, they know it's going to be compelling, and they know they're going to learn something in a big way, right? And that's why they keep going back. That's why there's a TED app. That's why there's the TEDx YouTube channel with 12 million subscribers. People keep going back because they're going to learn something profound from a really cool thought leader. So long story short, Lori, there's a whole bunch of different things for me to say, like how to get a paid speaking career. The number one, the linchpin, the nucleus, the center is having a wonderful, high quality film talk. That is the number one thing, because that is what's going to bring people to you to get you to speak at their events, rather than you going and doing one event and hoping to get another event from it, and hoping to get another event from that, hoping to get another event from that. It's like trying to sell one book at a time, or you could have a very powerful synopsis of your self-publishing school published book like let's say a 15-minute synopsis of that, your book, your 300-page book condensed into a 15-minute talk, just the most powerful points, most concise, compelling points of your book that is like inspiring, captivating, all of that in one talk, and it's online with 3 cameras, a really cool stage, a backdrop, under the name TEDx that already has 12 million followers. Like when that all comes together, that's where people start messaging you saying, they'll go to your site, I need to buy a book. I want to hear more. Does that make sense? Like in my mind, the best marketing for a book is, I know you guys are the gurus at marketing books. In my mind, it is having a talk. It's having a really powerful talk, because that's when people get a bit of exposure to you, they see you, and that's when they go, okay, I want more. I need the full version of this, which is going to be your book.
Perfect. And then Christopher, I think we kind of answered a lot of these questions. It was our TEDx Talks reaching out to courses like this, TED Talks. So as Taylor said, he's actually not with TED, right? He's doing this because this is something that we actually got a connection with him to come and talk with SPS. But he's not specifically with TED. But the question here is, what do you love most about the job you do?
Oh my God. This job is so ridiculous. I mean, you guys, my 2 companies prior to this, because of my first TEDx talk was like how to raise $10,000 in 3 hours, how to build a school in 3 hours. That led to starting a fundraising company. I didn't have a fundraising company, didn't even have a website, but because that TEDx talk took off, 2,000 people signed up saying they wanted to raise money, just like I had talked about this idea. So I had decided, okay, I'm going to build the technology to do this. And we ended up raising $5 million for nonprofits, $5 million because of this TEDx talk happening. So we built a software, we built a company to raise money. From that, we started doing impact travel. I started an impact travel company called Journey, where we bring people down to Latin America, mainly Mexico, Guatemala, Costa Rica, Nicaragua, and Colombia. And we build homes for families living in slum conditions. And then we would spend 3 days integrating the experience. So 2 days of building homes, 3 days of integrating the experience with, we'd stay like on the beach and surf and do yoga and meditate and have sharing circles and all that kind of stuff, sweat lodges and stuff. But what I loved about both of those is that I was getting to help people on a mass scale. And so each company got bigger and bigger. Like the fundraising company was great. We'd build a school that would impact roughly 1,000 people. And then we would be able to impact the people that, raised the money. Then the travel company was impacting people by building homes and bringing like 50 people on a trip at the time, which was fantastic. Now this is a completely different scale. This is a completely different scale. Kevin impacted 3.5 million people because I helped him get a TEDx talk. 3.5 million people. The scale, the reach that you can have through having a really profound talk online is exponential. So in my mind, my goal right now is have 333 speakers all reach 3.3 million views of their TEDx talks, because that will impact such an exponential amount of people. And I just happen to be obsessed with threes as well. They're tattooed on my wrist. So that's my goal right now, is empowering 333 people to raise to get 3.3 million views to their TEDx talks, because that's how I think I could impact the world in the biggest way. And so long answer short, or short answer long. That's what my favorite thing about this job is impacting people on a mass scale and doing it through other passionate, philanthropic, altruistic, empathetic humans like SPS people.
Awesome, man. This actually, next question is from Clayton, who was here. We were talking about earlier. He said, what are the coordinators looking for? Which I think you talked a little bit already, but what are the physical or digital pieces we need to have in place is the first part of his question. And then, is there a cost? And then, can we share the talk? Will we have access to the recording?
Right. So say the first part of the question again, Sean.
What are the coordinators looking for, which I think you kind of spoke to already, but he's also asking what physical or digital pieces do we need to have in place to be set up, ready to go for something like this?
Okay, great question. And the other one was like the video. Do you have access to video?
Yeah, is there a cost? And then can we share that talk? Will we have access to the recording?
Totally. Okay, thanks, Clayton. So what are they looking for? There's 3 things that will contribute to you getting a TEDx talk more than anything else. They're super simple, yet I'd say most people miss at least 2 of the 3. Number one by far is having your idea, is having a winning TEDx application. Okay. And what I mean by a winning TEDx application is we've looked at hundreds of different TEDx applications from all over the world. We've compiled a database of every single question you could possibly be asked on a TEDx application, on all the ones that we found anyways, hundreds of different questions. And those questions need to be filled out in a way that's going to appeal to the organizer. And that goes back to your idea being super concise and clear and unique, being able to show how you've already impacted the world, how you're going to impact the world, how if you got on that TEDx stage and it got 10 million views, how the world would be a different place. But number one most important thing is having a very compelling, concise, winning TEDx application. And Sean, I'll kind of weave through what our process looks like at the same time while I'm answering this, because I think that might be the most helpful. So what we do, Clayton, is let's say you said you're already a speaker. I'm not sure what your topic is, but if we decided to work together, like first step is I need to feel 100% confident that I could get you a TEDx talk, which I'm guessing I was more than confident with almost every self-publishing school person that I talked to, because they're already writing a book, they're passionate about this stuff, they have a great idea. So the first thing that we do, Clayton, is I hook you up. I've hired 3 TEDx organizers, because who knows who's going to get picked for speaking better than a TEDx organizer. So what I do is I hook you up with one of my TEDx organizers. You guys talk for about 90 minutes, do a deep dive on your idea, do a deep dive on, everything you've written in your book, your whole story, your life story. That TEDx organizer takes about 3 days, and they craft your message and your content, and they come up with a cool title for your talk, everything that you need to fill out that winning TEDx application. And the organizer actually fills in all the answers for you, because we wanted to do it in a way that's like as efficient as humanly possible. So that TEDx organizer takes, in your words, fills out this whole application, sends it back to you, says, hey, what do you think? You'll look at it, like, especially if it's with my organizer, Tucker, who's organized multiple TEDx events, launched one in a prison, launched a TEDx event at the border of Mexico and America, and helps organize TEDx San Diego. The guy's a genius. So Tucker fills in all the answers to these questions, sends it back to you. You look at it, and Clayton, you're like, wow, I sound amazing. And you say, yes, go ahead, Tucker. Tucker then sends that application to step 2, which is our submissions team. And it's number 2 most important thing is to hit the numbers. You have to apply to not 1 event or 2 or 10. You just get out there and apply to as many as you possibly need to get the TEDx talk. Okay. The secret formula to getting a TEDx talk is applying until you get one. Right? That's a mathematical formula. And so that's what we do. Is my submissions team has gone out and grabbed TEDx events that are happening all over the world. Like we're hundreds of different TEDx events, a spreadsheet with the organizer's contact information, the application form, et cetera. They then go and apply on your behalf. They start, like Clayton, we'd probably apply to 20 different TEDx events in June on your behalf. So they take that winning TEDx application, all those answers, they start applying to all these different TEDx events on your behalf. And then it moves to step 3, which is nailing the audition or the self-tape or whatever it is that they want, which is going to dovetail into one of your other questions as well. So number 3 is, once we've reached out on your behalf, Clayton, at some point, let's say it's in 30 days or 45 days or whenever it is, some of the organizers that we've reached out to are going to respond, and they're going to go, hey, Clayton, super interesting topic. Let's have a talk. Let's get on the phone and connect for half an hour, or can you send in a 3-minute video of yourself talking about your talk, or can you do a Skype audition for our council? They're going to ask for some sort of audition. As soon as you get asked for that, you hop back on the phone with Tucker. Tucker says, okay, here's what you're going to say in the audition. You're going to want to cover this, this, and this, or here's the script for your 2-minute video. He just coaches you so that you nail it, so you land the talk the first time. So I was kind of dovetailing in our process with the 3 top things, Clayton. Number 1 being winning TEDx application. Number 1 most important thing. Number 2, getting the numbers. So applying to, like, we'll apply to 20 a month, until we get you a talk. We'll apply to up to 200 different events on your behalf. My last client, we just landed a talk for Eric. Actually, we landed him 2 talks. We only had to apply to 11 events because we positioned him so well. Like, the wording was so compelling that it appealed to people in a big way. And he actually landed 2 TEDx talks. Or Sloan, we've only had to apply to 1, and we've had another client, Kyla, she had to apply to 24. It really depends. So we hit the numbers, and number 3 is nailing your audition. And you can do that by just getting some really simple coaching from a TEDx organizer. So you're not kind of guessing on how to do it. They walk you through it so you nail it the first time.
Awesome. And I'm going to go ahead and jump down to Otakara just because I know other people have been asking me about this, and I'm
Sure.
getting a couple of PMs about this as well. Because Taylor had opened up time on his calendar to take calls with SPS students, and it actually got all booked up last week. So I asked him if he could open up some more times, and he did. He opened up some more times on his calendar to talk with SPS members. So I put that link in there in the thread. I'll put that again towards the end of the talk, so you guys will have that. But if you want to get on that now, because I know Otakar asked if there's any more times open. If you want to get on that now, so you can book them now before they book up again, that's the link. It's a Calendly link. It's right there in the thread for you guys.
Yeah, and I'm going to, I think, Sean, I wanted to like block all of these off for your people, and I need to open up some more times right now. So I'm going to do that. Actually, do you want to just give me 2 seconds, Sean? I'm going to get my assistant to do that right
Yeah,
now.
go for it. I'm going to take a look and make sure we're keeping up to date with some of these questions and seeing who's here. We got some good people here. Jackie, Michael, Sab, Jeline, Clayton, I know you're here, Otakara. So guys, thank you guys for joining us here. We're going to continue talking about this. He's opened up some times. We have about 10 minutes left. We're going to go over to the live group coaching after this. If you have some more, questions about this, please feel free to put them here. Taylor's been really good about getting back to me when I've had to email some questions for members and things like that. So definitely put that there. We're going to try and get to everybody's questions as we're going through here. So I'm going to jump on and see what is next. Because some of these I think we covered a little bit as we were going through. One was Geeta's question is, can TEDx be arranged anywhere in the world? She's in, is it Chennai, India? So I think we kind of covered that because Taylor, you were saying that these are available. There's TEDx talks kind of throughout the world.
All over the world. There's lots in India, Europe, Africa. They're all over the place. Most of them are in the States because that's where TED started. So the biggest accumulation of TEDx talks is in the States, but absolutely there's all over the world. I've helped clients. I was helping a speaker organizer in India to get speakers for his event. So yes, absolutely.
Perfect. And then, so we have a couple questions here that involve, do you cover the cost or do you get paid for this? So can you just go over that again? Is there any payment or any costs associated for you for the TEDx talks? And do you get paid for being on the TEDx stage?
So no TEDx event pays their speakers ever, and no TED event. And if the reason for that is because it's a nonprofit, doesn't need to be to really go into the reason for that. It's basically the most valuable thing you could ever do for your speaking career. If I had to pay $5,000 to go to a TEDx talk or $10,000, I would do it. I would do it in a heartbeat. I mean, my TEDx talk, for example, returned $150,000 in speaking fees. Not to mention the few $100,000 in revenue for a company that I was running at the time, directly from that TEDx talk. And the impact that it makes obviously is ridiculous. Is costs for me. I only go through costs with people that I'm 100% confident that I could get them a TEDx talk in the first place. And so yes, there's definitely a cost for me to activate we've got about 9 people on our team, submissions teams, TEDx organizers, managers, director of ops, etc. And we can talk about what the cost would be on the phone if it's a fit and I feel 100% confident that I'd be able to get you a TEDx talk.
A couple of questions from Susan. The same thing is, and I think you just covered this, but obviously they're not going to cover your expenses if you're traveling from out of town, correct? So you're covering any of that, kind of just like you said.
Yeah, I'll cover it all with one more, and then we can just skip any more cost stuff. Is TEDx pays for nothing for you whatsoever, zero. If you had to fly to India, you're paying for the flight, the hotel, the everything, and it would be the best investment in your speaking career that you could ever make.
Yeah, and just so you guys know, a lot of these we talk about different stages when we're talking with Chandler. Like a lot of these stages are paid to be on because you're going to get that money back from your invested, and that's not that's not getting that same reach. It's getting on different stages as we're going to conferences and things like that.
Yeah.
All right, let's see. Jackie says, when you go from 0 to 60 quickly, how did you scale your fee to adapt for the caliber of the new client? Like when you went from speaking, all of a sudden speaking at the UN.
Got it. Yeah. Well, I took a bunch of free events. The UN is free. They don't pay speakers. Same as Harvard, same as Cornell, but those are really good resume boosters. The speaking fee that I get now is about $10,000. That goes, and it's kind of a funny thing. I was stuck at $5,000 for ages and ages. And that's because honestly, Sean, I just viewed myself as a $5,000 speaker. I know that sounds like metaphysical or whatever you want to say, but I thought I was a $5,000 speaker until I just decided that I'm now a $10,000 speaker, period. And within 2 weeks, I booked my first $10,000 speaking gig. It was with Wim Hof, the Iceman. He was keynote at the other keynote in Morocco, which is a blast. And yeah, it's once you get this. Here's the thing, Kevin, for example, 3.5 million views to his TEDx talk. As soon as it started getting like over 1 million views, he was at first he was getting $4,000 very clear, like all the time, because he was doing the university circuit. Then he got 8, then he got 10, then he got 15. Now the tops that he's made is $20,000 for one talk. And so it's a mix of experience. So ideally having a speaker reel and having some great logos and great testimonials, et cetera. And the core thing is that you truly see yourself as that level of speaker, as a $10,000 speaker. And again, it might sound metaphysical, but it's crazy how amazing it works. And I'm just going to get this over to Jake here, Sean, to open up some calls. Let's do.
And I had to change that. Otakara reminded me that I got the wrong link in there, so I updated that for you guys. So she said there was no dates available because that was actually his normal link, and so we switched it to one just for SPS students. So I got the right link in there now. So that was the most recent one you emailed. So Otakara, just take another look, and he did open them up more specifically just for us, and not in that regular link.
Now. This is this Friday. This is this Wednesday, this Friday, and next Tuesday. 30 minutes.
Cool. And I'll put that link again in. I just did edit that comment, so you get the correct link.
The new one.
Yep. And let's see. One of the questions was, as people have seen, some of the stages are not always staged well for TEDx events. How do you make sure that venue is staged well, or how do you start to
do whichever one you have with the phone right now? The type form. Okay. Sorry, Sean. Could you say that again?
That's right. We have a couple people who have seen some TEDx stages and aren't always staged well. How do you know which venue or how it's going to make sure it's going to be staged appropriately?
Yeah, you look at what they did the year before, see what the quality was like, and if they haven't done one, then you reach out to the organizer and say, how many cameras do you have? What's the team that's going to be doing it? And an interesting thing is, like, if you look at Simon Sinek's talk, for example, Simon Sinek's talk was from pretty poor filming. And I think it has 38 million views right now. It catalyzed an incredible speaking career for him, 38 million views. His microphone stopped working halfway through. It was Kevin's talk is absolutely super poor quality. Barely, it actually got on TED.com barely because they said the audio quality was so bad. So at the end of the day, it doesn't matter if it's like the highest, like biggest stage, 1,200 people in the room at all. If it's TEDx, it's TEDx. As long as the quality is decent, you're good to go.
All right, so let's see another question here. And I think this, Kristen, I'm just going to restate this question. I think you had and Clayton had, are there specific things to have in place beforehand to ensure that you get the best value from the TEDx talk afterwards?
Could you say that again?
Yeah, so sorry, the question was, are there specific things that you've seen to have in place beforehand so you get the best value from the TEDx talk afterwards?
Oh, that's such a great question. Such a great question. You know, let's see here. I'm a real fan of action over too much preparation. Okay, so I see people get blocked. I see people stop and make excuses. I'm not saying this is an excuse for who's asking the question, but I've seen people make a lot of excuses like, well, I'm going to do it once I get my speaker reel done. I'm going to do it once I have a speaker site. I shouldn't do it yet until I get my one-pager done. They're all just excuses. They're all just procrastination tools. And in reality, the best thing that you could do is start getting on the path to doing a TEDx talk. And here's why. Here's why it actually makes sense to starting now rather than having things in place. Is let's say we landed you a TEDx talk in 45 days from now. Okay, we started working together. We land it. The very soonest that it's going to be is the end of September, probably October, maybe even November, because the TEDx applications that are open now are for events that are open in the fall. There's a lot of events open in the fall, so there's a lot of applications open right now. Okay, so let's say you land your TEDx talk now or next month. It's not going to happen for another 4, 5, 6 months. And in 4 or 5 or 6 months, you can put together a Squarespace site for speaking bookings. You can put together a one-pager if that's what you want to do. So in my mind, You do the number one most important thing, which is start on the path to getting a TEDx talk, and then fill in, because you'll have some really clear deadlines. And even after you have landed the talk and you do the talk, it's going to be another month, 2 months till that video footage is actually ready and comes out online. So if you start today, you still have 6 months to put all of that stuff together. And to answer the question more clearly, because I think they're saying, well, what would help to have together before so that the TEDx talk gets the most traction? Having a speaking site so that people can book you. So if someone just Googles your name, like they Google Clayton Steves or whatever Clayton's last name is, that they would find your speaking site. They would just yourname.com, and that way they'd have somewhere to get a hold of you. And you're also going to have in the description under the YouTube video, you'll have a couple notes on you and what you do, etc. You'll be able to fill that in for the TEDx organizer, so they put it under the YouTube video, so people have a pretty clear idea on how to contact you, and just have those things in place. But just don't overthink it. I would say, take action versus procrastinate at any point, and you'll have time to put all that stuff together once you've got the talk locked in.
Cool. And one other question from Jackie here is, how do you know what those themes are? Is that something available when you're filling out applications?
Yeah, it's usually published on the website, and we try to put it in. I have a big spreadsheet. If people would like, we send. Actually, we're going to do it tomorrow. So today would be a really good time. We call it TEDx Tuesday, where we send a bunch of TEDx applications that are open for speakers that are looking for speakers out every Tuesday morning, and you can get that, and you can also get a full list of hundreds of TEDx events that are happening around the globe that we've included the theme for those TEDx events, and you can get that at taylorconroy.com. You just go to taylorconroy.com, put in your email address. We send you the global list of hundreds of different TEDx events that are happening. And then every Tuesday, we'll send you more events that are open for booking. And in our spreadsheet, we've included all the themes that we could find. And if for some reason it's not on there, you can always go to their site, or we could do what Eric did, the organization or the TEDx event that was going to have him audition for. We didn't know what the theme was, so I coached him on reaching out to the organizer, getting on the phone for 15 minutes, asking what the theme was, asking why the theme was that. So it was actually funny. Eric was the only speaker that went to the audition that actually knew what the theme was, because we coached him through that process. And I actually talked to the organizer of that TEDx event the other day, because they're still looking for speakers. And he said, Eric, he walked in, he was so prepared. He said, did you know he's the only speaker that knew what the theme was? And I was like, yeah, I did. Smart guy, right? He's like, yeah, I mean, that's a big reason why he got the talk, is because we were able to coach him through how to do the audition and, separate himself from the other speakers.
Cool. And then one more time, if you could just make sure and check that I put that link back in here. It's the Taylor Conroy Get TEDx Ready. Is that the correct link? Just to make sure that we have that one. It's the one that we emailed. And when you guys go on there, I believe it's not a specific calendar link. You could be able to fill out your information, and then you guys get back to me. Is that how this one works?
Yeah, how this one works, Sean, is we have a process for people to fill in what their topic is. We ask a question about where they're at with their book so far. Some questions that will help me with the intake call, because my call with each person is about 30 minutes, which isn't really long enough to go through everything that I would like to go through, but I like to get to know people and just to get a feeling on if I would be able to get them a TEDx talk or not. There's about 12 questions to fill in, super easy. It takes 5-10 minutes, and then you get the Calendly link right after that.
Gotcha. Because we just had one person ask and they didn't see it. I was just going on there myself just to make sure. You just say, if you go to the site that we have the link there, they'll say take the TEDx evaluation to find out. Click on there and it'll run you through the questions, and then you get the Calendly link after that. So just so you guys know that you are going to the right site and where to click on that.
Yeah, you are. Thanks, you guys. Thanks for the patience with that. Appreciate it.
Perfect. Okay, the last couple questions, then we'll get you out of here. And we want to respect your time. And of course, we have our group coaching call. So if you guys have more questions about this, you can always move them over to that channel, starting in just a little bit. One is from Susan, who says, do you know if TEDx women events are harder to get booked on?
I don't know.
No.
I don't know, Sean. We've been applying to a bunch of TEDx women event for our women clients, and to be honest, I don't even know how many TEDx women events there are. We're looking into that right now. Thank you for the question. Definitely harder to get on those events if you're a man. slash impossible, but I don't think it's actually impossible. Sometimes we've got male speakers, but I'm not sure what the answer to that question is.
And then Clayton says, how other ideas that do better than others?
You know what? Here, that's a really interesting question. People ask that question all the time with, what should I talk about? What's the question what's the idea that's going to pop for a TEDx organizer? What's going to get the most views? And here's the thing, at the end of the day, that's not what can dictate your talk ever. That's definitely not what can dictate your talk. What needs to dictate what your talk is going to be about is what your heart and soul is on fire for and needs to share from the stage. Because let's say you have the coolest, I don't know, like the most compelling idea, yet you're not passionate about it. When you go to that audition or you go to that intake call with the TEDx organizer, first of all, they're going to know that you're not passionate about it. You can't fake passion. You can try. But then even worse is that, let's say you do fake passion. You get on stage and you talk about that thing that you just thought people would be interested in, and that TEDx talk goes out there, then you're kind of beholden to that idea that you're not that passionate about, that you just got on stage to just get a TEDx talk. This is not about just getting a TEDx talk. TEDx talks are not just about like getting out there and kind of trying to boost your personal brand. The opportunity with these things is so mind-blowing that you want to get out there, talk about the thing that you're the most completely, absolutely, amazingly passionate about, so that when that TEDx talk goes to 10 million people, that you want to go out and do the speaking gigs and talk about that topic, right? Because you put that online, like I put this talk online about building schools all over the world. So when I get booked for a speech, I'm the social good guy. You know what? That's the exact kind of guy that I like to be. I want to be the guy that gets booked to go and do an inspiring talk about building schools all over the world and building homes for families living in slum conditions. That's what I love. That's what lights me up. I love to talk about that stuff. So that talk is going to live on for the rest of my life, and it's going to be leading to speaking gigs for the rest of my life. People read it. I've done the exact same talk at a Jewish fundraiser, at a stadium full of 10,000 people, at Pfizer, at Lululemon, at Disney, at social good events, the exact same talk, because all of them see me as the social good guy who talks about schools. So I get booked for the same thing over and over and over again. So you want to be really clear, tapping into you, what am I meant to talk about? And my guess is it's probably what your book is about, because you're putting so much heart and soul into that book, so much time, so much effort, that you must be super passionate about it. So my guess is the answer to that question, long story long, is what you should put in your application, what you should do in your talk is the thing that your soul is telling you that you need to talk about.
Awesome. And I know you already know that we're talking about different things, Clayton, but I did want, for those of you guys that are watching this, and if you're watching on mobile and you weren't able to see the links, this is the link. It is here in our event. You can type it into your web browser. So it is taylorconroy.com/get-TEDx-ready. So that's the link right here. That'll take you to where you guys can find out more about Taylor and answer those questions and go from there. So that's it for questions for now, guys. I know there's going to be a ton more that come in. So if you're able to, definitely book some time to talk with Taylor. If not, if you want to send questions through me, Taylor's been gracious enough to answer a lot of questions we've been sending his way already. So don't be afraid to send me information, and we can see about getting you linked up with Taylor as well. But that's if for now, Taylor. I know we're going to have a ton more questions. I would love to have you back on sometime when we can talk more into this. But for now, thank you very much for taking the time tonight. This is such an inspiring topic. I know there's going to be a lot of people looking to get the SPS messages that they put in their books on stage.
Yeah, I'd love that. Thanks for having me, Sean. Everyone who watched this, thank you so much. And thank you for putting all the effort that you're putting into writing a book, because if this group that we're talking to here, or the people that I talked to last week from SPS, Sean, if they're representative of your whole community, I am blown away by the quality of people, by the quality of the message that these people want to share with the world. And so I'd be absolutely honored, humbled, just delighted to help you guys get that message out in a bigger way. So I look forward to talking to you guys in the next week. Book a call and we'll connect.
All right, sounds good. Thanks a lot, guys. We'll see you on the next events that we have. So we have live group coaching starting a little bit, and we always have our expert hangouts, our expert interviews. They're in the membership area. If you ever want to go back and watch a replay, you can find it there. So take care. We'll see you guys next time.